Hey guys, Brent Gallagher here, Avenue Fitness in Houston, Texas, and today we're talking about editing the clutter. I heard this once come from Steve Jobs when he was talking to Mark Parker, the CEO at the time of Nike, when he basically said, hey, you know what, Nike makes all this beautiful product. You make stuff that people lust after. You make stuff that people wait in lines overnight for, that they truly want your product more than anything. And there was a little bit of a pause, and then he said, hey, but you also make a lot of crap. He says, basically get rid of the crappy stuff and focus on your best stuff. And from that simple little philosophy, Mark Parker then in turn changed Nike's course forever. And when he said, hey, you know what, let's get rid of this clutter. Let's get rid of the things that we don't necessarily do the best. And then let's focus only on a few things. And we apply that to, I think, our fitness businesses, that sometimes it's just easy to start collecting things. It's easy to start adding more and more equipment as the new toys come out in the magazines, or we go to a conference trade show, or we hear a speaker, it talks about a new way of doing something, so we throw that into our mix, or there's a new program that comes out, and though it might be something that doesn't necessarily fit within your program, it's the fad at the time. It's something that you feel is, hey, you know what, we've got to add this into the mix. So I want to challenge you with a few questions today that you can sit down and wrestle with, you know, with yourself or with your team. I think sometimes it's good to get some outsider's perspective, you know, than just yourself here on this one. So the first question that I have for you here is, if a group of outsiders came in and purchased your facility right now, and they started to make changes immediately, you look at it and say, if they were going to make a change immediately to start editing the clutter here, where's the first place that they would start? And then the follow-up question to that is, why haven't you taken that step already? It's challenging because, again, those things start to become part of us, and we think, oh, our clients are going to miss this if it's gone, or they're going to need this, or we might use this once a week here. Next one here is, what clutter have we fallen in love with that's no longer effective? Sometimes those machines, they have their life, and it's not just because they get old and worn out, it's that we just don't use them as much as what we used to, and we hang on to them only for, again, usage of once a week or once every other week, or it sits in the corner and it's simply just collecting dust over there. And every once in a while we go to use it, and you might grab it and it looks so dusty you don't even want to bring it out, because it would be an embarrassment if your client was to see something like that. So look at that and say, hey, you know, what is not as effective as it used to be, and could we possibly go give it to another person, go give it to a school, go give it to a shelter that might need something that's in their facility that they could use. Again, you can take the donation for it all here in this one. Next is, you know, where can we edit the clutter in our, and that blank is in your entryway, in your office, on your shelves, maybe on your training floor, maybe behind your equipment, looking at your dumbbell racks, it's looking at your medicine balls, it's looking at your the kettlebells and stuff that you might have. It's in your bathrooms, it's in your storage closets, it's wherever there is clutter starting to build up. And it's the hardest thing to do, because, you know, we like to go through once a year and spring clean, but it's like, could we constantly do that? Almost, hey, let's not overshoot things right now, but start with doing it once a month. And then can you get really good to say, hey, you know what, on a weekly basis, we're going through and evaluating everything that is here. And if it hasn't been moved, then it needs to move out of our space. Let's clean things up, because ultimately when people walk into your facility, they're gonna judge you immediately by walking in and seeing the clutter that's all built up. Or is it clean and pristine? As we like to say here, is it surgically clean? That they walk in and they just feel comfortable. Not because, you know, of maybe we've broken down all the barriers, so to say, when it comes to walking in a gym, but it's that there's no dirt, there's not a lot of stuff going on when they first walk in. Their mind can be at ease, and we're not trying to bombard them with just, again, a lot of clutter that's right there. And if you look at this here, the last question that we want to round this out, if you could remove 3 pieces of equipment to basically declutter your facility, to open up more space, to make it more inviting here for people when they walk into your door, what would they be? And again, why haven't we done it yet? And these could be small pieces of equipment. It could be big pieces of equipment. It could be that treadmill that used to get used a lot, but then now sits over in the corner and doesn't get used anymore because you have 2 newer models. Same thing with bikes or elliptical machines, or again, that toy that you had to have back 4 years ago or 5 years ago, or in my case, sometimes I've got things that are laying around from 10 years ago that I get a pushback from my wife or some people on my team and say, hey, you know what, we haven't used this in a while. And again, it's even hard for me, I think, to let go of some of those pieces, because there's 2 things. There's a little bit of sentimental value, and then there's always that, oh, you know what, I'm going to use it one day in the future. most likely we're never going to pick it back up again here on this one. So it gets back into saying, hey, we got to refocus on the simplicity of things. And when we look at the simplicity and say simplicity requires you to edit anything that clusters your client's experience. And that experience is every single time they walk in the door. What if they bring a new friend with them? What if they invite a friend to come in and train with them on a regular basis? What if they walk in and they might have their mom with them or their dad with them, and all of a sudden it's their first chance to experience your facility, and they're going to say, you know what, that looks like my kid's room from way back in the day. So I challenge you that, our industry is so good at building complexity into living fit and healthy, and in place of trying to, master the basics, so to say, hey, let's just manage our stress, let's sleep more, let's eat better. Maybe we don't have to train as much. We want to throw in the passing fads every single week, every single month. And sometimes our gyms begin to reflect that because of our purchasing habits, so to say. So again, keep this in mind here on this one, this simplicity aspect of things and the editing and thinking about a great writer has to go back through and edit things down to give you only the necessities there. If you go to a great movie you really truly enjoyed, there's typically another 5-6 hours worth of film that was left out, so you could get only what is their best effort. And that is, I think, the same thing that you need to do with your facilities. So look at your facility here, rewind this, watch it over and over again there, write down the questions, go and talk to your team and say, hey, where can we edit the clutter?